Hey y'all, what's up? How's it going? I am Jaxident Prone, and I love holes. Wow, there's gotta be a better way to phrase that. Hold on, let me think about this. Okay, I think I've got it. I love the 1999 novel and subsequent 2003 movie, Holes by Lewis Sacker. And yes, Lewis Sacker did in fact write both the book and the movie. That's why it is probably one of the most faithful book-to-movie adaptations in history. So, this wasn't always going to be the case, though. Before they hired the author of Holes to write the script for the movie Holes, they thought it would be a good idea to bring on Richard Kelly. Now, if you don't know who Richard Kelly is, he is most well known for writing a little movie called Donnie Darko. And if you haven't noticed, Donnie Darko is not exactly a family film. Now, the book and movie that we did end up getting, yes, it was written with younger readers in mind, but the plot line and the story and basically this whole thing have been perfectly crafted for anyone of any age to really enjoy. It's one of those movies that has, and books, of course, that has intertwining storylines that all neatly, tie together at the end, even if they don't seem like it, even if they're separated by space and time, and even country at some points. Richard Kelly, not exactly the most family-friendly of writers when it comes to screenplays. He thought it would be a good idea to take this concept of Mr. Sacker's and take it in a completely different post-apocalyptic direction. It's a lot, to say the least. I feel like a grandpa telling his story while he puffs on his pipe. My sister got me this pipe for Christmas. It's a little ridiculous, but I love it. So now I use it at least once a day. I'm more of a bong man, honestly, but it's a nice pipe. It makes me feel classy using it, not gonna lie. Anyway, the movie that Richard Kelly came out with was not quite what they were looking for, to say the least. And the producers of the movie said, okay, you're fired, we're gonna get the guy who wrote the book. And the rest is history. The only movie that I know that has been that faithful to the source material was The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And guess what? That movie was also written by the guy who wrote the book. So, I think the moral of the story is if we're adapting movies to books, books to movies, we should probably put the person who wrote the book in charge of the movie. That would make sense, because that's how you get a faithful adaptation. Only 2 changes that I know of were made in Holes, and they were for very practical reasons. The first change being they changed the weight, or at least the starting weight, of the main character. In the book, he began the story as a heavier set character, and throughout doing this hard labor in the hot sun for months on end, he gradually began to lose this weight. Now, the movie folks had 3 options, pretty much. They could go with a heavier set actor from the beginning and have him actually lose the weight, which could be dangerous, especially because being a child actor, losing weight so rapidly could be dangerous, so they immediately ruled that out. They could have put this kid in a fat suit, which, bear in mind, this was the late 90s, early 2000s, and fat suits were essentially made of latex and rubber and things like that. And putting a child actor in one of those in the hot sun, also not the safest idea, so they scrapped that, and their third option was just to not make Stanley's weight a plot point at all. So that's just what they did. The only other change that they made, and I don't even know if this was a change or not because it's been so long since I read the book, but at one point, one of the characters is having a flashback to when she was younger and digging holes in the desert with her grandpa. And at one point, she goes, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And the grandpa goes, well, that's just too damn bad. But it's one of the most quotable lines of any movie I've ever seen. So I'm going to turn on the AC for a little bit because it is 69 degrees outside on January 1st. Holy Ugh. I think I'm going to finish this bowl.
2 hours later.
We already talked about how this script came to be. We talked about how Mr. Kelly was fired from production and replaced by the actual author of the book. A few years later, I want to say, I think it was in the late 2000s, Richard Kelly himself would take to Twitter, and let me see if I can actually find the tweet. Here's a link to the script for my 1999 post-apocalyptic adaptation of Louis Sacker's Holes for Phoenix Pictures. And then he posts the link. So, since Mr. Kelly has made this script public, I will also be posting the link in the description so that you can follow along with me. But of course, I will be screen recording as well so that you can actually, see it on the screen while I read it. So, without further ado, I'm going to get my screen recorder set up.
2 hours later.
3 hours later.
Alright, let's see if I can get this thing out of the way.
Eventually.
Okay, here we go. So I'll be doing a dramatic reading, and I will be attempting to do different voices for every character. Bear in mind, I'm not a voice actor. I'm not trained to hold voices for a long period of time, so this is just me doing my best. Fade in. Exterior, Texas desert, helicopter shot, sunrise. We glide across the vast Texas desert, flowing into the purple sky like a conveyor belt of golden sandpaper. Narrator, elderly voice. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to do an elderly voice. Wait, I said I'm never going to share my age on this channel. I'm old, so this shouldn't be a problem. Once, when it was still early in the 21st century, there existed a prison in a sea of sand. All signs of life in this place had been destroyed by something terrible. And that something had dried up into the earth, and the earth was a prison for all mankind. So we're getting deep already, I guess. But I mean, that's Richard Kelly for ya. We approach a desolate road, stretching off into the horizon, as a lone school bus drives along, leaving a thundering blaze of dust behind it. We approach the school bus, where a lone figure can be seen through a dirty glass window. There was a young man named Stanley Kramer. He had committed a crime, and he was being sent out into the depths of nowhere to be punished. Now see, the thing about Stanley's name in the book and in the movie that we did end up getting is that his last name is Yelnats, which is Stanley backwards. So he is actually Stanley Yelnats the Fourth, and his name is actually a pretty big plot point of the book and the subsequent movie that we did end up getting. So I don't know why Richard Kelly decided to change his last name to Kramer, but here we are. Interior, school bus, next. Sitting handcuffed in the middle section of the school bus is Stanley Kramer, age 16, a handsome young man with blue eyes and blonde hair. Now, if I'm not mistaken in the book, Stanley was just supposed to be a pretty average-looking dude. And he had darker hair, darker eyes. So, replacing him with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, handsome young man feels just a little not great. He looks out the window, his head almost resting against the glass. He did not feel... Oh, sorry, narrator, he's elderly. He did not feel sorry for what he had done. But feeling sorrow is not adequate punishment for such a crime. Feeling sorrow does not absolve the crime from the memory of the victims. If the victims are still breathing. Stanley looks forward to the guard driving the bus as it begins to slow down.
You awake, Kramer?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Camp Green Lake.
Camp Green Lake, or exterior, Camp Green Lake, next. The school bus turns underneath an ancient arc-shaped signpost that reads, Welcome to Camp Green Lake. The sign is brand new. Which is it? Is it ancient or is it brand new? The school bus follows the dirt road out towards a cluster of buildings in the distance. When it was all said and done, people said that it was fate that sent him to the prison. Others said that it was mere coincidence, one of many coincidences that form the rhythm, guiding the children out into the unknown. So, I guess coincidence is the Pied Piper that didn't get paid? What? The school bus pulls up in front of the main building. The engine cuts off with a shudder, and the guard leads Stanley out of the bus, taking him inside. Interior, Camp Green Lake, main building, next. While Stanley waits quietly against the wall, the guard signs several forms at a desk, behind which sits Mr. Sir, age 40. He has his feet up on the desk casually, chewing on sunflower seeds. The guard unlocks Stanley's handcuffs from his wrists and feet.
5 hours here, 5 hours back. What a day.
The guard heads out the door in a huff. Mr. Sir spits out a mouthful of sunflower seeds into the trash can and then approaches Stanley. Stanley Kramer, my name is Mr. Sir. Whenever you speak to me, you must call me by my name. Is that clear? Yes, Mr. Sir. You answer to me now. Interior, main building supply room, next. Stanley is now dressed in a long-sleeve blue jumpsuit. You get 3 jumpsuits. Washes every 2 weeks. Unfortunately for you, we're out of sunscreen. Supply truck doesn't come for 2 weeks. But by then, your skin will be nice and leathery. Why would you say that to a 16-year-old boy? Mr. Sir hands Stanley a shiny 5-foot metal shovel. You are to dig 1 hole each day, except Sundays. Each hole must be exactly 5 feet deep and 5 feet across in every direction. Your shovel is your measuring stick. Breakfast is served at 4:30. Mr. Sir turns towards the doorway. No one is going to babysit you. The longer it takes to dig, the longer you will be out in the sun. If you dig up anything interesting, anything at all, you are to report it to me or any other counselor. When you finish, the rest of the day is yours. Exterior, Camp Green Lake, next. Stanley and Mr. Sir step out of the air-conditioned building into the blazing heat. A group of large tents are assembled several hundred yards to the east. Stanley can see dozens of other prisoners milling about in their jumpsuits past the tents. Take a good look around you. What do you see? Stanley gazes across the expanse of dry earth. Not much. Mr. Sir feigns a laugh. You see any guard towers? No. How about an electric fence? No. There's no fence at all, is there? No. You want to run away? Stanley looks at him for a moment, unsure of how to respond. If you want to run away, go ahead. Start running. I'm not going to stop you. Mr. Sir smiles at him, revealing crooked yellow teeth. I see you're looking at my gun. Don't worry. I'm not going to shoot you. He taps his holster. This is for yellow-spotted lizards. I wouldn't waste a bullet on you. I'm not gonna run away. Good thinking. Nobody runs away from here. We don't need a fence. Know why? 'Cause we got the only water for 100 miles. You wanna run away? You'll be buzzard food in 3 days. Stanley stares at him silently, showing no emotion. When the buzzards start gnawing at your flesh, most likely, you'll still be alive. So go ahead and run. 'Cause I don't ever waste a bullet. What the f***, man? When the buzzards start gnawing at your flesh, most likely you'll still be alive? Aren't buzzards famously known for only eating dead things? Like, waiting until they're dead to eat them? I guess he's just trying to, like, instill the fear of God in him. I don't know. But Stanley does not flinch. Mr. Sir, isn't every bullet a wasted bullet? Surprised at Stanley's aggressive demeanor, Mr. Sir raises his gun to Stanley's face. Not if I hit the target right between the eyes. But isn't that an even greater waste? The waste of a living thing, I mean. Mr. Sir does not follow. I think it's a far greater waste. When a bullet tears through flesh, destroying what God has built. Cutting life short. Oh, we're getting deep. We're getting edgy and deep. Mr. Sir's smile disappears. If anything, when a bullet misses its target, well, I consider that to be a miracle from God. Okay, now we're getting religious. That's a thing. Mr. Sir approaches Stanley for a long moment. He then takes out his canteen and takes a long, sloppy drink in front of Stanley in the searing heat of the midday sun. A long, sloppy drink. Mr. Kelly, maybe you should save that kind of verbiage for AO3. You thirsty, Stanley? Yes, Mr. Sir. Mr. Sir screws on the cap of the canteen. Scribble, 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 scribble. That's not a line. There's just a bunch of scribbles in the script that Mr. Kelly put in by hand. Exterior, Camp Green Lake, helicopter shot. Next. We see from an aerial view the entire expanse of tents lined up on the edge of the camp. There were 6 tents at Camp Green Lake, letters A through F. The first 5 tents were for the campers, assigned by age group. The counselors slept in Tent F. Stanley was assigned to Tent D. Pendansky was his counselor. Exterior, Camp Green Lake, Tent D. Next. Stanley stands with his shovel across from Pendansky, age 35. He is a tall, more white-collar-looking man than Mr. Sir. My name is really easy to remember. 3 easy words. Pendansky. Or 2 words. Penance and if you rearrange the letters a little. Are we really going with homophobic slurs, Stanley? Are we really? Oh, right, it's 1999. Of course we are. It's always interesting going back and re-watching, like, things that you loved back in that era, and they make some really, like, horrible joke that would not fly in this day and age, and it's like, oh, why did I like this? Pendansky smirks at this. Mr. Sir drives by in a red Dodge pickup truck with specifically mounted rear, or with a specially mounted rear cab holding several campers. He glares at Stanley. Don't mind him. He's just been in a bad mood ever since he quit smoking. The person you really have to worry about is the warden. There's really only one rule at Camp Green Lake. Don't upset the warden. Stanley and Pendansky walk out towards the vast lake bed. Stanley can see dozens of other campers out digging. I want you to know, Stanley, that I respect you. I understand you've made some bad mistakes in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But everyone makes mistakes. You may have done some bad things, but that doesn't mean you're a bad kid. They come to a stop in an area closer to the other campers already digging. I'm going to help you turn your life around, Stanley. But you're going to have to help. Can I count on your help? Yes, sir. Good. Now this is a good place to start. You know the rules. Do you like to dig, Stanley? Stanley looks at him silently for a moment. Sure. Digging a hole is a healthy, therapeutic exercise. Do you know what therapeutic means, Stanley? Sure. What do you think it means? I guess you could say it's like therapy that makes you want to puke. That's what therapeutic means to me. So we go from this philosophical, every bullet is a waste, and also it's a waste of human life, to penance and therapy that makes you want to puke. I guess he is really a 16-year-old boy, huh? Pendanski is once again taken aback by Stanley. He almost smiles at this. Okay then, let's get started. Pendanski begins to walk away. Pendanski? He turns around in his tracks. Yes, Stanley? You don't have to be nice to me just because all the other counselors are assholes. There's nothing you can do to help me. There's nothing you can say that will make me believe I'm going to enjoy this experience. I know that the next 18 months are going to be hell. Probably the worst year and a half of my life. Pendanski nods his head slowly. So I only want you to be nice to me if you are in a good mood. If you're in a bad mood, feel free to act like an asshole. Because there's nothing more depressing than someone who's only pretending to be your friend. Pendanski's smile slowly returns. Here's some advice from a friend, Stanley. Shut your mouth and start digging. And then he is gone. Such a dramatic exchange followed by the stage direction, and then he is gone. And Stanley turns his eyes towards the cracked and scorched ground beneath his feet. He then takes his shovel, and he tries to jam it into the ground. The cracked sand is so hard that the shovel merely bounces off. Stanley tries again, but the shovel won't budge. By the third try, he makes it through. Montage. Stanley marks the 5-foot square outline, begins to dig in the center until the hole is about 35% finished. He stops to take a break, and he notices another young man approaching him. It is X-Ray, age 15. Hey. Hey. What's your name? Stanley. Call me X-Ray. I've got X-ray vision. You see, I can see through space and time. Wow. Don't worry. Give you a couple of weeks, you'll have a stupid nickname too. You know, you're doing it all wrong. You gotta start your dirt pile further out. Remember, it's all about compression. Compression? The dirt. You see when it's all compressed, but when you dig it up, it gets all loose. Takes up 3 times more space. Pointing over to another digger. You see? We see further down, a young man named Zero, age 16. He's almost finished with his hole, and his pile is very large. That's Zero. He don't talk much, but that boy can dig like a s***. He can dig faster than anybody at Camp Green Lake. How long's he been here? Almost a year. People say he dug the very first hole, right after the war ended. Right after the war ended? The war? Oh, Jesus Christ. This is gonna be a thing. He don't talk about it, and nobody knows for sure. But people say he killed someone. Stanley stares over at Zero silently. They make eye contact, and Stanley turns away. So, what'd you do? You steal something? I don't want to talk about it. I understand. You probably did something stupid to get here just like me. They are silent for a moment. Well, aren't you gonna ask what I did? What'd you do? Me and my friend Daryl, we stole a Slurpee machine from 7-Eleven. Then we threw it off the roof of our school. Roof testing stuff is cool, but why a Slurpee machine? Because when it smashes, all the Slurpees splatter like a It looked badass, but this lunch lady saw us do it. Stupid. That sucks. Yeah, but I think it was worth it. Well, I gotta get back to digging before the warden comes by. Jesus Christ, this is such like a stereotypical representation of teenage boys. We threw a Slurpee machine off the roof because it was fun, and this lunch lady caught us. Ugh! Jesus Christ. Well, I gotta get back to digging before the warden comes by. The warden? Yeah, you'll know when you see him. Whatever you do, don't ever let the warden see you slacking off. Ever. Thanks for the warning. And then X-Ray is gone. I think we're going to leave it here for now at and then X-Ray is gone, because I've been filming for a while and I have to get back to the rest of my life as a not YouTuber. But I will record part 2 soon. Get that up and running because I'm having fun with this, and honestly this story only gets more buck wild. At one point Pendansky takes some of the young boys to a gentleman's club, and that's about as far as I got the last time I read this. So after that point we'll all be going in this with fresh eyes, so that should be interesting. So thanks for joining me on this buck wild adventure. I am Jaxident Prone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.